Welcome to All In for Estacada Schools. Joined by School Superintendent Ryan Carpenter, we'll be taking an in-depth look into the work, the data, the wins, and the fun that's happening every day in the Estacada School District.
Happy Tuesday to our All In for Estacada Schools podcasters. Thank you so much for joining me and following me right after watching that Super 60 Seconds. I'm so glad you're here today as we are just a day away from welcoming our students back. Our school district is excited and we are ready to welcome your children back. So buckle up, let's get on board, and let's go all in for Estacada Schools.
What is your favorite spot on campus?
Well, I have three favorite spots on campus. I've been in this school district for 11 years, so I know the ins and outs of this place. My first favorite outside spot is the high school baseball field. That one is near and dear to my heart as when I first moved here. A community of people, some of whom I still claim are great friends of mine, and I built that baseball field together with our own two hands, equipment and tractors, and just had so much great community support to build that field of dreams for Estacada. My wife even hand painted every single one of those home run signs that are out there. So just in terms of my own blood, my sweat, and my tears, has to be hands down the Estacada High School baseball field. But I also love the Estacada High School Commons. I think that's a really unique place that has so much character inside our school districts, and it's where our great high school kids congregate. It's just such a center pillar for our community. That Estacada High School Commons is just so iconic, and I love it. And then if you're like a born and raised here Estacada person, like there's some secret spots inside our school district that are also really great. And my favorite secret spot is the Estacada Middle School shooting range. That is not a myth. That is a fact, that underneath the beautiful Estacada Middle School auditorium exists a shooting range. And although it hasn't been used in, I would say, decades, although, hey, anyone that wants to take me up on that offer, let's go and do that. But kidding aside, kind of, there is a shooting range down there, and it's a pretty neat spot, and you can just feel the history of that down there. So secret spot, that's it. Estacada High School Commons is very special, and personally for me, the baseball field is my favorite spot to be, and I still go there sometimes on very stressful days.
Hot Topics.
Today's exciting because we get to talk a little bit about money. So often inside our community, our great Estacada community wants to know more about what's going on inside our finances. And I think this is a great opportunity today to talk about our finances and taxpayer funds as we begin to open up our schools. Today, I'm joined by Christina Weinard, one of the great new hires and team members that we've brought into our school district. I like to say that we stole Christina from the Reynolds School District, but really she came out here and put herself out there to want to be a part of our team as well. She's been an instant contribution to our great Estacada team and is already finding new ways to be more efficient with our public funds. So I'm so excited to have Christina a part of our podcast today. Welcome, Christina. And what is your favorite spot on campus?
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I love the campus feel of Estacada School District. I remember when I got hired and I came out to figure out how I was going to get here. I drove in. I'm like, oh, wow, this is amazing. I love it. I can walk to all the schools. Yes. Being a Beavers fan, though, I have to say my favorite is the middle schools. Their orange and black floors are amazing.
That's awesome. It is a beautiful brand new floor. It is Beaver colors and Estacada Middle School colors, and it feels great. Well, so today we're going to talk a little bit about ESSER funding. And as we all know, we've received federal funds to help us support the educational operations during this pandemic and making sure that our buildings are safe, clean, and dry as we welcome students back on campus. Can you tell our listeners a little bit more about what ESSER funds are and where do they come from?
The ESSER funds are in response to COVID. It's in three different pots of money. The first response was the CARES Act, and the second is from the American Rescue Plan. We got 3 pots of money out of the CARES Act and 1 pot of money out of the American Rescue Plan Act.
So when you talk about pots of money, obviously we were the recipients of a pretty large sum. Can you tell us, our listeners, how much to date has the Estacada School District received, and what have we spent that on so far?
Great question. So the ESSER 1, that was our first response to COVID. And that allowed Estacada School District to start getting PPE or continue adding to our PPE. We also added FTE for our custodians. The second pot of money that we got right away is what we called gear money. And the gear was, we bought some computer hardware, student laptops, and we got internet and hotspots for our students. I'm sorry, the CARES was $266,000, gear was $103,000. ESSER 2, we received just over $900,000, and we received that later in last year. And the district decided to allocate a portion of that to each of the schools because they know how COVID is directly impacting their schools. And so they were able to buy items such as bottle filling stations, auto scrubbers, some of their staff that were working remotely got new devices, and of course PPE. That's going to be continuously throughout this. We as a district also upgraded our video conferencing equipment and classroom setup so that we were able to meet remote learning. And then we did ionization upgrades throughout the district. And finally, we were able to add 2 teachers for roaming subs.
So all of those things were absolutely essential services to our school district. If you'll recall, especially if you had a secondary level student, this was the video conferencing that Christina was talking about. These were the TV screens and cameras in each and every single one of our middle school and high school classrooms. So as students virtually learned with their teacher, they were able to remote into the classroom itself. And as we were in hybrid learning, while some kids were on campus and other kids were off campus, we were still able to create that great classroom feel. And our teachers, who were heroic in this work, were able to try to multitask both students off campus and students who were on campus. The ionization project was so critical for our HVAC and how we were ensuring that we were keeping our system safe and clean and recirculating the air. And those ionizations, send out these ions that ultimately go to these particles, specifically the COVID virus and other types of viruses and big particles. And they make those particles bigger so they get caught in the air filter. And so a really pretty cool opportunity for us to, improve the overall circulation inside our aging facilities. So those are just a few to name that we continue to invest in. And I appreciate you kind of sharing the specifics of what that looks like. So when we think about the future, are these monies continuing to come in? And, what do we expect as we make additional plans for the future and additional funds?
Great question. We're finally at our pot 4, our final pot of money, and that's ESSER 3. And we received as a district just over $2 million. And we have till 2024 to spend that. And so we're trying to make a plan. So ESSER 3 does have a little bit more guidance in it, whereas the other 2 ESSERs allowed us to have a little more free. ESSER 3, we're required to spend 20% to address the academic impact of lost instructional time. So right now as a district, we're coming up with ideas on how we can do that. You'll see you'll hear more about that because we're going to bring that to the community the second week in September to get the input and their feedback on the items that we have. The remaining, well, we're actually looking at spending more than 20% on that, on our students. The remaining items, we are really addressing COVID, how COVID has impacted our schools. So we have things such as our distancing that we still have to meet. And as a district, we're increasing in population. Yes. So we are having to have more space. So we're looking at buying, or actually we've already purchased some portables. Yeah. We have one office one that's coming next week, actually. Yeah. And then we remodeled one of the portables that we currently had and moved that to the elementary school, and then we purchased a portable so that we can meet the needs of our students by allowing the space. Other things that we've done, of course, is PPE. That's still going to be on our list. We want to make sure that our staff and our students are have everything they need. Generator. So we, as a district in Estacada, when we're out power, we can't do any remote learning. Our internet shut off. So we got a generator to keep our internet up and going, as well as our refrigerators so that our food is kept cold. We did have some losses last year from that. Access points throughout the district so that we're able to have the internet and connectivity. And that's about it for ESSER 3.
Yeah. So it's really quite a bit of stuff, and it's extremely comprehensive. And, one of the things that Christina was talking about that all of our community is going to get to play a role in is determining how best we can utilize these funds to close the gaps from an academic standpoint. And I look forward to our team engaging with our community as well as engaging with our employees to make sure that how we're utilizing these funds is representative of our community, to make sure those dollars are being best utilized to support our kids in the classroom. I think it's also a benefit because of the hard work that we've done as a school district to be transparent about our finances and really work hard to have a healthy end fund balance and some other things inside our system, that we as a school district were actually in a good spot to take these funds for emergency purposes and not only respond to the pandemic that we were dealing with at the time, but also to set us up for future long-term success as well. And regardless of the pandemic and or the money, our school district needs these 3 portables. We need to take some of our wraparound services that were taking up classrooms at the elementary level and moving them into office space. We need more classrooms because our kids are bursting at the seams at Rivermill Elementary School. And we were going to need to buy those 3 portables no matter what. And that would either have come from our general fund dollars, but in this case, we were able to allocate some of those ESSER funds to plan for future growth, make sure that we could keep the distancing for our students so that we can, keep class sizes small and keep our class sizes safe, which is another reason for those portables. And we were able to do that really cost-free from our general fund to do that, which was really a $600,000 or $700,000 purchase. So we're feeling very fortunate for those opportunities. Now, it's also important to note that even these ESSER funds is public taxpayer funds. These are federal dollars that are distributed to us. And we know that, anytime the federal government allocates different types of spending and or funding comes at a controversial cost. I just want some of our citizens and our listeners to know that, these are funds that we take very seriously, and we cherish, this opportunity to not only make sure that our buildings are safe for all kids to return, but that we're being financially responsible with this very important allocation of funds to support our school district. And so it's something that we take very seriously. We want to make sure that every penny is accounted for, and all of it goes to improving the educational experience for the Estacada School District. So we're very fortunate to have these funds. We feel fortunate to have these funds. We're in a spot where we can use these funds for good, and I hope that our community will see the positive results from that. Now, Christina, one last question for you. If I'm a community member, where can I learn more about how we're spending ESSER funds, and where can I just learn more about how the Estacada School District is spending dollars? Where can I find more out about that, as we care about transparency and being truthful about where our money goes?
Great question. Well, our final plan from our ESSER, which we will finalize once our community input session, will be posted on our finance services webpage. You'll see it there, along with a lot of other great materials. You will find our audit and our budget there, which I'm sure is great reading. I enjoy it. You will also find I'm going to be putting my monthly financial reports there. And any other information that comes in, I'm hoping to keep that updated on my webpage, as well as I am working with communications. Starting next month, I am going to have a finance video, where I'll give maybe some helpful tips, some learning tricks, some ins and outs of finance, as well as Estacada finance.
So Christina Weinard is going to become a YouTube star, is what I think I'm hearing you say. And we're just so happy to have you be a part of this team. And I really do encourage our listeners to go check out our business department's webpage. And I know that sometimes it's not always as exciting, I know, I'm sorry to say that, to talk about, public finance and dollars. It is absolutely extremely important. And we want to make sure that how we use public funds is an open book for anybody to take a look at, because we believe to our core values to be responsible and transparent with everyone's hard-earned funds as they invest in their local school district to help support our kids and Estacada's future. So we're grateful for those funds. We hope that we're using those funds in a respectful way that meets your approval. And if you don't know enough about it, I encourage you to look at it more and look at Christina's webpage to find out more, and watch her on YouTube as we continue to improve our communication about school finance inside the Estacada School District. So Christina, you're such a great new teammate for us. We're so happy to have you. You've already made just a tremendous impact, and hopefully we can get you on the All In podcast more as more people ask more questions about our finances. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
What's in Ryan's inbox?
So last week, I received 960 emails, averaging 192 emails a day. Hey, I'm continually improving. My response time was 12 hours and 3 minutes. Thank you so much to all of you who took the time to communicate with me about your experience inside the Estacada School District. So the number one theme inside my email inbox last week was an internal theme as we continue to work with each employee and their personal decision regarding the mandatory vaccination mandate that came from the state of Oregon. It's just important that obviously we're working through with each employee a range of emotions and allowing them the time and space to make their own determinations of how they intend to process that and work through that. So it's my pleasure to work with each employee and our great teams as they navigate some of these things that are out of their control and are now forced to make decisions inside of that. And so as we support each person in their right to choose what's best for them and their body, it's important to note that the number one theme in my inbox is helping our employees work through that process. So we care so much about our employees. We've got some really great employees inside our school system. And that's why you can see the great culture that exists. And it's from our employees who power that great culture. So excited to spend my week with them as they work through some tough decisions, and the school district is here to support them. So that's the number one theme in my inbox right now is serving and supporting our employees with best-in-class service.
Fact.
Or fiction?
Well, now we've reached the portion, as always, where it's my favorite time of the show. And maybe it's your favorite time of the show as well. And thanks so much for hanging in there as we get to it. And that is to play that fact or fiction game. So let's get on to that social media monster, and let's see what people are saying about their school district on social media. So fact or fiction? The district, this is a quote, quote, the district has implemented several COVID-19 practices that aren't helpful and are actually harmful to students' health. These include air filtration, face masks, and hand sanitizing practices. Unquote. First of all, very well written post. I appreciate the punctuation, grammar, and an articulated way of communicating that. I do, however, believe that this statement is false. We'll be the first to admit, and I'll be the first to admit, that we aren't medical experts. In fact, we are education experts. So what we do is we work closely with the medical and HVAC experts. We have a great working relationship with public health, and we are dedicated to investing in what the medical experts recommend for keeping our students safe. We also invest a considerable amount of funds to overcome the challenges that our aging facilities present to student health, from old pipes to asbestos to older HVAC systems. Our buildings require a lot of extra funds to ensure that our kids have the safe schools that they deserve. Also, the technologically advantaged classrooms that we need to have in order to be competitive. Technology and upkeep with our aging buildings are two things that require a ton of investment, and we put our money into that. We also use a Swiss cheese approach where we have a lot of overlapping strategies to keep our buildings healthy for students. So I know there's a lot of opinions about ionization, about face masks. In fact, I've heard a lot about the face masks and hand sanitizing practices. Here's what I can tell you. We're going to continue to follow the advice from our local public health experts. Last year, we followed that advice and we were able to mitigate, I think, a lot of school disruptions because of our ability to be sound in multiple different segments to keep our kids and our employees safe. So we know that the data is telling us that what we're doing in the Estacada School District is working. It allows our school districts to stay open, and we're going to continue to follow the advice in those directions so we can keep our schools open to serve your kids. So again, I know your opinions are important. Mine, I have similar opinions to a lot of our community as well. But at the end of the day, we're going to follow with what we're supposed to do. And because of that, we're able to keep our schools open where you get to send your kid each and every single day. So that was a great post. I would say that in general, it is fiction, but we're working hard to keep our schools safe. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in yet again to another All In for Estacada Schools podcast. I hope listening to this is helpful for you, and I know that we're trying to just get deeper and deeper as we communicate the great things that are going on, as well as some of the big challenges that we're faced with. Hey, as we begin school and as school starts tomorrow, please tell other families about this communication. We know there's so many people that just want to know more about their schools, and they don't know where to find it. I think this is a great first start for our new families, and even for our families who have been here for a long time. If you really want to stay up to date with the big things that are happening, please keep tuning into this podcast so we can have this conversation together as one team. As I close, one last thing I would like to communicate today is as we welcome our students back tomorrow. I'm so excited. I know our employees are so excited to welcome all children back. I just ask that there's so much opinion, personal belief, and expectations as to how schools should be, operate, look, and feel right now. And we honor and respect all of those differences in opinions. And so many community members have taken the time to let me know their opinions, and we hear them and we're listening. And I just want to say to our listeners and to our parents and to our communities, tomorrow, as we walk our children to the front doors of the school, I hope that at the end of the day, we can model for our kids respect for what we're trying to do to just open our doors and serve our kids, and respect to the fact that we all have to follow these rules, and that you'll be one of those people who respects that and models that as well as you walk your kids to the door. I also hope tomorrow, as we start our first day of school, that you'll model that school is important and an education is vital to the life and success of a child as we work through that process together. And so please model the importance of school and model that respect of doing what we need to do together as a community to make this public education system work for us. And lastly, I just ask that you continue to build that partnership with your school to ensure that you can work collaboratively with the people who are also responsible for your child's education. So keep that mindset as you walk your child to the front door tomorrow. We are so excited to greet them and welcome them and make them feel like they're back at their school home. I can't tell you how hard we've worked this summer to prepare for tomorrow. Get fired up. We'll see you on campus. This is a great, great time to raise your children inside the Estacada School District. We'll see you this week in person.